You're watching MyIPS on MyINDY-TV 23, a free educational service provided by Circle City Broadcasting of Indianapolis. Here's what's coming up this hour. Get more information, special announcements, and weekly program schedules online at wishtv.com. And be sure to follow us on Facebook. Here's what's coming up next.
Everyone, my name is Corey Franz. I am a special education specialist in the K-8 learning community, and this morning I'm here to spend some time with you to do a kindergarten math lesson. What you'll need for this lesson is your iReady Grade K Math at-home activity packet. I'll give you just a second to get that, and then you'll also need something to write with. Once you have your packet, please turn to the very first lesson. And this morning, we're going to be exploring and counting numbers 1 through 5. So I think it might be a good idea to do a little bit of a counting warm-up. And again, for this activity, you'll need your packet, something to write with, and it may help if you have something with you to count or to help you count. I have a lot of these in my house. They are baby socks, but they are excellent for counting. Maybe you have something around your house that you could use to help you count, but if you don't, good news, you always have your fingers. So let's do a warm-up activity. I'm going to use my fingers, but you can choose to use anything in your house that's okay with your parents. All right, so we're gonna start doing our warm-up counting, and we're gonna sing a song that I like. It's called 10 Little Apples. So go ahead and get your fingers wiggling, get ready to count, and we're gonna sing 1 little, 2 little, 3 little apples, 4 little, 5 little, 6 little apples, 7 little, 8 little, 9 little apples, 10 apples in my pie, yum! That's an easy song that you can sing, and sometimes I just make up other things to sing too. So maybe if I were counting socks, I would sing 1 little, 2 little, 3 little socks, and then make up something silly at the end like stinky socks in my house or something that would make you laugh. So what we'll do now is look at our packet to count, and we're gonna go ahead and get whatever you have to write with, and we're gonna do the first example together. So in this example, we're counting apples. So I'm gonna draw it on the whiteboard while you look at the example in your books so that we're looking at something that looks the same. So there's 2 apples. I kind of already gave you guys the answer, but I know you can still help me count. Okay, step 1, put whatever you have to write with on the object and draw a line to the first number. So here's my first apple. I'm gonna draw a line straight down to number 1 to show that it's the first apple. After I do that, I'm gonna do the same thing and put my marker on the second apple and draw a line to number 2. So after you do that, you're gonna take a look and maybe you need to count and remind yourself. 1, 2, That's the answer. There are 2 apples, and you'll circle number 2. Just like that. So that was great practice. We're going to do that for the rest of the problems. So in the next one, I see a basketball. What you're going to do, I'm actually going to go ahead and draw that for us too. All right. So in the second problem, we have a basketball, and then the same numbers below it. Sorry guys, I am not an artist. Hopefully you can draw a little bit better than Miss Corey. But it is important that we try. Okay. All right, so you're gonna do the exact same thing. You're going to put your writing utensil on the object, and then you're gonna draw a line to the number and circle it. How many basketballs? You're right, just 1. For the next problem, I see an animal that we get to count, and the animal makes this sound, meow. What kind of animal makes that sound? You're right, it's a cat. I wonder how many of you have a pet cat in your house? So let's see. Here's our kitty cats. All right. Mine look a little bit different, but I think we know that it's a cat. All right, and then okay, same thing. You're gonna start at the beginning. I'm gonna put my marker and count. There's 1, 2, 3. Stop there, because there's nothing else to count. 3 cats. Circle your answer. The next one is butterflies. I'm gonna let you guys try and do this one by yourself. I'll give you just a minute. While you're working on that, I'm gonna go ahead and draw it. Okay, you guys are probably done by now, but let's go through it together and see if you landed on the right answer. Let's start. All right, I'm gonna put my marker on the first butterfly. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop there and circle your answer. There's 4 butterflies. You know, I was just thinking it may be fun to draw some of these things, if you can, outside, maybe with sidewalk chalk. It might be fun to draw and count some of these things. All right, let's do the next problem. I see 2 little squirrels, and I just gave you guys the answer again, but we're gonna count it together. And I can't draw squirrels, so I'm just gonna draw a happy face. Maybe you're like, I can't draw a squirrel, Miss Corey. That's okay. Think, what's your favorite shape? If it's a circle, draw a circle. I'm gonna draw a circle and put a happy face in mine. All right, let's see. We're gonna put our marker on the first smiley face that we're pretending is a squirrel, and we're gonna say 1, 2, stop there. Our answer is there are 2 smiley faces. Can you show me 2 on your fingers? Great job. All right, we're ready for the last problem. Go ahead and get started on this one and see if you can figure it out by yourself, and I'll draw it on the board. All right, we are ready to count. 1, 2, and 3. There are 3 baseballs. Great job, everyone. We counted all of the problems on this page together, and we figured out how many apples, how many basketballs, how many cats, butterflies, squirrels, and baseballs. That's a lot of different things to count. When you're at home, you could look around in your house and you could ask yourself questions like, I wonder how many doors are in my house, or how many windows are in my house? And you could count just to find out. You could count maybe some things when you're outside because it's going to start warming up, like how many airplanes you see flying in the sky. It's fun to count sometimes, even when we're at home and we're thinking, I don't want to work, but maybe it could be fun. So our lesson is done together for our math. Thank you for working so hard. Please know that your teachers miss you so much. We love you so much, and we're thinking about you every day. And we hope that you are doing fine and staying safe. All right, we love you. Have a great day.
This is MyIPS on MyINDY-TV 23. Here's what's coming up next.
My name is Rachel Jandazak, but you can call me Miss J. I am a preschool teacher at Francis Bellamy 102, but I am so lucky to be able to help out George Buck 94 with kindergarten. Today I'm going to work on the kindergarten lesson, numbers 0 to 5, and you will find this on pages 4 and 5 of your packet. Some goals we have for working on this lesson is I can write numbers 0 to 5, I can answer how many, and I can understand the last number I said tells the number of objects I counted. On this page, our first direction is going to be to trace. Trace means to write on top of. So on our first example, we have what number? Number 2. Good job. First, I would trace. Trace means write on top of. Next, it wants you to write the number all by yourself on your own. So right here, you would write the number all by yourself, number 2. Next, you need to count both groups. There will be 2 different groups, and you need to count how many are in each one to figure out what number is shown here and what number matches. So let's go ahead and count. 1, 2. 2 is the last number I said out loud, so that's how many is going to be in this group. 2. Over here, let's go ahead and do the same thing and count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is the last number we said out loud, so we'll go ahead and write number 4. So now we know our first group has 2 and our second group has 4. We need to figure out which number is number 2. You're right, this is number 2. So we would go ahead and circle this group because that shows 2 objects to go with the numeral 2. Let's try it again. What number do we have here? You're right, this is number 0. We would start by, go ahead and trace. Next step, you need to write 0 all by yourself. Good job. Your next step would be to figure out which group shows 0. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that here. All right, let's go ahead and count each group. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our first group has 4 circles. Let's go ahead and count our second group. There are no circles there, so that means there's none. There is 0. Our first group had 4. Our second group had 0. Which group shows 0? You guys are right. It's our second group. There are 0 objects, and that goes with the number 0. All right, next, what number are we going to trace? You are right. That is number 3. So around a tree, that's how we make our 3. Now write it all by yourself. Around a tree, that's how we make a 3. Now we need to see which group is going to show 3 objects. All right, let's count so we can compare. Our first group has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And our second group has 1, 2, 3. Our first group has 5, and our second group has 3 objects. Which group shows number 3? You guys are right. Our second group shows the number 3. All right, let's go ahead. What number is this? You're right, that's number 4. Straight line down across and then down again. Straight line across, down again. Number 4. Now let's go ahead and see which group is going to show 4 objects. All right, I want you to take a second to count this one. How many are in the first group? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you write number 4 here. How many in our second group? You take a second to count by yourself. How many? 1, 2. Which group shows 4? You're right, the first group. All right, this is our very last one, and then I want you to try doing pages 4 and 5 all by yourself. The last number we need to work on is number 5. You're right. Straight line down, around, and a hat on top for tracing, and then try to write it all by yourself. Straight line down, around, and a hat on top to show 5. Then we're going to find which group has 5 objects. All right, I'm going to take a second. I want you to try to do the whole thing all by yourself. Alrighty, friends, which group do you think shows 5 objects? Do you think our first group shows 5 or our second group? You are so right. Our second group shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you'd go ahead and circle that group. Our first group only showed 2, so that's not the answer we're looking for. After all this practice, I think you guys are ready, and you will be able to write numbers 0 to 5, answer how many when counting, and you can understand the last number we say out loud is the number of objects we're counting. Go ahead, guys, and work on pages 4 and 5 in your packet now.
This is MyIPS on MyINDY-TV 23. Here's what's coming up next.
Hi friends, my name is Rachel Jandazak and I'm a preschool teacher at Francis Bellamy 102. Luckily, during this time, I'm able to help out the kindergarten class at George Buck 94. So we're going to work on pages 6 and 7 today, and we're going to be comparing within 5. After this lesson, we're going to be able to say that we can compare two written numerals or number symbols and decide which is greater than, less than, or equal to. Also, we can compare two groups of objects and decide which is greater than, less than, or equal to. If something is greater than, it means it is the bigger number. If it is less than, it means it is smaller or littler. If it's equal to, it means it is exactly the same. So on page 6, we need to figure out which group is bigger, which group has more. On page 7, we need to figure out which group has less or which group is littler. Let's go ahead and try a couple for examples on page 6. For these, we need to figure out which group has more. Let's go ahead and start by counting each group. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this bottom group has 1. Which group is bigger just by looking at it? Just by looking at it, I can tell that this top group is bigger. But when I count, I know for a fact that 4 is bigger than 1. And I know this is the numeral, the written numeral, the number symbol for 4. So we need to circle the number that is bigger, the number that is greater than, the number that is more. So I'm going to go ahead and circle 4 because it shows 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the bigger group. Let's try another. So for here, these are my apples, and we need to compare which group of apples has more. Let's go ahead and count our first group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or the second group has 1, 2. We have 5 and we have 2. Now we just need to figure out which number symbols are which. What written numeral is this? This is number 5, you're right. And what written numeral is this? It's 2. Which number is bigger, 5 or 2? You are right. 5 is greater than, it is bigger than 2. So we go ahead and circle 5 because 5 is the bigger number. It is greater than 2. Once we go ahead and finish page 6 where we find more or greater than, you get to move on to page 7. On page 7, we're going to do the exact same thing, but you need to figure out which group is tiny, which group is smaller, which group has less. Let's go ahead and count these groups here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this group over here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is this written numeral? This is 4, you're right. What is this written numeral? This is 5, good job. Which number is bigger? This group was bigger. We counted 5, and we know this is the number symbol for 5. So this one's bigger, so it can't be the one we're looking for. We're looking for less than this time. So 4 is smaller or less than 5. So we're going to circle which one's littler. Good job. If you can figure out which one's greater than, you can also figure out which one is less than. So these two pages kind of go together. Last one here, these are my carrots. We need to figure out which box has less carrots. Our first box has 1, 2. Our second box is empty, so it has how many? 0. So we have 2 and 0. This is our number symbol for 2. This is our number symbol for 0. Which one is smaller, 2 or 0? You're right, 0 is nothing, so it is the smallest. So it is less than 2. Circle the one that is less than, and then you are all done. After you finish these two pages, you should be able to compare two written numerals and decide if they're greater than, less than, or equal to. And you'll also be able to compare two groups of objects and decide if it's greater than, less than, or equal to. Good job, guys. Go ahead and finish pages 6 and 7.
This is MyIPS on MyINDY-TV 23. Here's what's coming up next.
Hi friends, my name is Rachel Jandazak and I am a preschool teacher at Francis Bellamy 102. Luckily during this time I get to help out George Buck 94 and teach a little bit of kindergarten math. So today we're going to be working on pages 8 and 9 in your packet, and the topic is making 3, 4, and 5. After this lesson you will be able to say, I can fluently add within 5, and I can write the numeral, the number symbol, for the number of objects I counted. On our first page, 8, it wants you to start by tracing number 4. Tracing means to write on the dotted lines. So straight line down, across, and another big straight line down. Then you need to try to write it all by yourself. Straight line down, across, straight line down. After you've traced the 4, written it all by yourself, then you need to look at these two groups and make sure that they add up to 4. So we're going to go ahead and count. Right here I see 1, and on the other side it already shows us that we know that this is number 1. It says 1 and blank. We need to figure out what written numeral we need to put in that blank. And we can do that by counting these numbers right here. So 1, 2, 3. If I count these all together, it should equal 4. So let's give it a try. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we know that if we add 1 and 3 together, all together we will have 4. Let's go ahead and try that one more time. Let's go ahead and count our first group. 1, 2. We already have the number 2 over here, so now we need to know what group we're missing so we can write the written numeral right here. Let's go ahead and count our second group. 1, 2. If we add these all together, we will have 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we know that if we have 2 and we add 2 more, all together we will have 4. And that's what you're going to do for all of page 8. You're going to trace 4, write 4, and then you're going to figure out how many are in the missing group. So all together it can equal 4. On page 9, we're going to do the same thing but with number 5. So we're going to start by tracing 5. Straight line down, around, hat on top. Straight line down, around, hat on top. Once you trace, write all by yourself. Then we need to do the same thing and look at our groups, count them, and then add them all up and see what written numeral we need to put here. But we're going to look for 5 instead of 4 this time. Let's give it a try. 1, 2, 3, 4. We already knew we had 4, so now we need to know how many more we need to make 5 altogether. So let's count our second group. 1. If we count them all up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know if I have 4 and I add 1 all together, we will have 5. Let's go ahead and try one more. So we traced our 5, we wrote our 5. Now let's count our groups. 1, 2, 3. Our first group has 3, and we knew that. So now we need to figure out which number we are missing. So let's count our second group. 1, 2. All together we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you have a group of 3 and then you add 2 more, you know that you will have 5 all together. So after you guys do pages 8 and 9, you can say that you can fluently add within 5, and you can write the numeral, the number symbol, for the number of objects that you counted. Go ahead and do pages 8 and 9 now, guys. Good job.
This is MyIPS on MyINDY-TV 23. Here's what's coming up next.
Hello, first grade scholars. My name's Mrs. Ludlam, and I'm here to talk to you today about one of my favorite things, adding numbers. Today we're going to start with your math packet on lesson 1, and this will be found on page 3 and 4 in your packet. You'll only need your packet and a pencil for this lesson. Before we start, I want to review some vocabulary that we'll be using when we talk about adding. When we add, the numbers that we add are called add-ins. So you have an add-in and you're adding another add-in, and that gets you your answer, which is called your sum. This is your addition symbol, this is your equal sign. So we'll be referring to the numbers we're adding as add-ins. And I'll leave this vocabulary up as we work through these lessons. So adding is something that we do when we're joining numbers or objects together. Today we're going to be adding using a strategy called counting on. Our I can statement for today is, I can count on. Can you say that? You are awesome, thank you. A strategy that you've probably already been using is counting all, and we're going to practice with that really quick. This is a good strategy, and we'll go ahead and review with our dots. Start with these numbers and count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because 4 dots plus 3 dots equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to do this again using numbers instead of dots. And we're going to count all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because 4 plus 3 equals 7. So counting all is a good strategy, but today we're going to talk about counting on. So when we count on, we go to our first add-in and we start at 4. We don't count 4 again. So we go 4, 5, 6, 7 equals 7. 4 plus 3 equals 7. And that saves us some counting. So now we're going to try another problem. This one's going to be a little bit harder, but we'll do it together. So we're going to start with our counting on. Count with me from 7. 7, 8, 9, 10. Because 7 plus 3 equals 10. So it's still counting, but when we count on and start with our first add-in, we don't have to do so much counting. Does that make sense? Great. Let's look at the example on page 3 in your learning packet. Our example is using blocks, and they're there for us to count. It says 5 plus 2, so let's count on. Start with your 5. Your first add-in is 5, and we're going to count on together. 5, 6, 7, because 5 plus 2 equals 7. That was awesome. For the rest of the problems in your packet are going to be just like these. Number 5 asks you if you always started with the number 1 when you counted on. So think about the difference between counting all, which we started with, and counting on, what we ended with. So use your best explanation as to why you did or didn't start with 1. So you're now ready for lesson 1. Remember, you can use your fingers or other objects to help you count on if that helps. Thanks for listening and happy counting.
This is MyIPS on MyINDY-TV 23. Here's what's coming up next.
Hello, first grade scholars. I'm Mrs. Ludlam, and I'm back to talk about adding. Today we'll be working on your math packet, lesson 2, which you will find on page 5 and 6 in your packet. You'll only need your packet and a pencil for this lesson. Before we start, I want to review some vocabulary again that we'll be using when we talk about adding. Addends are the numbers that we're adding. Here is our addition sign, here's our equal sign, and the sum is your answer when you're adding. So we'll be referring to the numbers that we're adding as addends. I'll leave this vocabulary up during our lesson. Once again, adding is something that we do when we're joining numbers or objects together. Today we're going to be adding using a strategy called using doubles. So we have two I-cans for today. I can add doubles, and I can use doubles to solve near doubles. You ready? Let's do this. First, let's look at our doubles. You may not have your doubles memorized yet, but you will someday. So we'll go through these together. You can help me. And we'll keep this chart up when we're working. So help me out. 1 plus 1 is, good job. 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, 4 plus 4, 5 plus 5, 6 plus 6, 7 plus 7, 8 plus 8, 9 plus 9, that's right, it's 18, and 10 plus 10 is 20. So for our doubles, our addends are the same. We'll leave our doubles facts up, and we're going to go ahead and do an example. So here's our example. 2 plus 3. If we look at our doubles, can we find a double that's close to 2 plus 3? I'm going to look at 2 plus 2 right here. We know that 2 plus 2 equals, if we look at our chart, 4. Now, I also know that 3 is just one more than 2. So if I look at 2 plus 2 is 4, I know that 2 plus 3 is the same as 2 plus 2 plus 1, which is 5. You're right. Very good. Now, if you look at the example on page 5 in your learning packet, this is using stickers for us to add. The example shows one black sticker and one white sticker. And the question says, how many stickers do I have in all? So let's think about our doubles. One black sticker, one white sticker. That looks a lot like 1 plus 1 equals 2. Very good. This equals 2. Now the first question is similar. It's a near double. And it says there's one black sticker and 2 white stickers. How many stickers are there in all? So again, I'm going to go back to my doubles. I'm going to go back to my 1 plus 1 equals 2. I know that 1 plus 1 equals 2. 1 plus 1 equals 2, and I know I have one more, so it's the same as 1 plus 1 equals 2 plus one more. That is 3. Because 1 plus 2 equals 3. You got it, guys. You are ready for this lesson. You will use your doubles facts to help you solve the problems 1 through 4. For question 5, you really need to think about how we can use our doubles to help solve our near doubles. Put on your thinking caps. I know you can do it. Thanks for listening, and I think you will have double the fun with this lesson.
This is MyIPS on MyINDY-TV 23. Here's what's coming up next.
Hello, first grade scholars. I'm Mrs. Ludlam again, and I'm back for some more adding. Are you ready? Today we'll be working in your math packet on lesson 3, which you will find on page 6 and 7 in your packet. You will only need your packet and a pencil for this lesson. Before we start, we're going to review again our vocabulary that will be used when we're talking about adding. When we add, the numbers we are adding are called addends. and the answer is called the sum. So an add-in plus, that's our plus symbol, an add-in equals our sum, which is our total or our answer. I'll leave our vocabulary up again. Adding is something that we do when we're joining numbers or objects together and finding a total. And today we're going to be looking at the order that we're adding. Our I can for the day is I can add in any order. Are you ready? Let's do this. Take a look at our poster here. Once again, we have our add-in plus add-in equals sum. What happens if I were to take an add-in and move it around? What happened? Nothing, because you can add in any order. And the reason that we know this is because of the commutative property of addition. It tells us we can add in any order. Now, commutative property is a really big word for first graders. You may hear your teacher call it a turnaround or a switcheroo or a flip, but I think you guys are smart enough to use the appropriate word, and that is commutative property. And again, that tells us we can add in any order. It doesn't change our sum. So let's look at some blocks. I can demonstrate on our blocks. I've got 2 red blocks here. I'm going to put them together. And I have 1 yellow block. So if I put these together, I have 1, 2, 3 blocks. Now, if I were to switch this around and have 1 yellow block plus 2 red blocks, I still have 3 blocks, because it doesn't matter what order, because that's what the commutative property of addition tells us. Awesome. So we're going to do this looking at our numbers up here. You can see with numbers it's the same thing, just like we did with our blocks. 2 plus 1 equals 3, correct? The same as turning around, 1 plus 2 equals 3. The order doesn't matter. That is awesome. So let's look at our blocks again. Here I have 3 blue blocks, and I'm going to add them to 2 yellow blocks. So 3 plus 2, add them together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have 5 blocks. If I were to turn this around and have 2 plus 3, I still have 5 blocks. Why is that? The commutative property of addition. And if we look at our numbers, we can see 3 plus 2 equals 5, just like our block said, the same way that 2 plus 3 equals 5. So you can move your add-ins around, the sum doesn't change. Awesome job. Let's look at our packet on page 7. Our questions are drawn just like the blocks that we used here. Our example shows that we have 4 shaded blocks and 2 unshaded blocks. So if we were to add that, 4 plus 2, and we can do our counting on again. 4 plus 2. I'm not an artist, but here's our 4 shaded blocks plus our 2 unshaded blocks. 4, 5, 6 equals 6. The next part of our example shows 2 shaded blocks plus 4 unshaded blocks. 2 plus 4. All we did was switch our add-ins around, so we know that if 4 plus 2 equals 6, then we know that 2 plus 4 also equals 6. Very good. So for this assignment, you'll have 8 problems, just like the example with the shaded blocks and the unshaded blocks. And remember, you can count up or count on if you want for your answers. If you need to use your fingers to help, that's fine, but the order doesn't matter. So you are ready for this assignment? Remember what we said about the commutative property and adding in any order? Thanks for listening, and before you turn around, you'll have this assignment done.
This is MyIPS on MyINDY-TV 23. Here's what's coming up next.
Hello, first grade scholars. I'm Mrs. Ludlam, and I am back for some more fun with numbers. You ready? Awesome. Today we're going to be working in your packet on lesson 4, which you'll find on pages 9 and 10 in your packet. You'll only need your packet and a pencil for this lesson. Before we start, we're going to review again our vocabulary that we'll be using when we talk about adding. When we're adding, the numbers that we add are called add-ins. So you see add-in, plus symbol, add-in equals sum, which is the total or the answer when you're adding numbers. I'll leave our vocabulary up through these lessons. And also remember that adding is something we do when we're joining numbers or objects together and finding a total. Today we're looking at another strategy called making tens. So our I can statement for today is I can make a 10 to add. Can you say that? Good job. Let's do this. But you might be asking yourself, how is making a 10 going to help me add? So just remember, when we're working with numbers, 10 is our friend. And bonding numbers to 10 can make adding bigger numbers even easier for us. So we're going to start with our 10 frame, which is right here. So if you look at this big rectangle, inside we have 10 boxes. And this whole thing represents the number 10. You should have seen these or been using these in your classrooms. These are a great way to help us make bonds and make tens for adding. So let's go ahead and try one, and we'll use our 10 frame. So here's a problem. 8 plus 4 equals something. And I'm going to start with 8 pink dots in our 10 frame. You can count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So this 8 pink dots represents our first add-in of 8. Our second add-in is 4. So I'm going to have 4 yellow dots. Now the first thing I want to do is make my bond or make my 10. So I need to fill up my 10 frame. So I'm going to take 2 yellow dots and I'm going to put them there. And that makes a bond, it makes a 10 to fill up our 10 frame. So when we do that, we're breaking up our 4 into 2 different numbers. Count with me because we took 2 out, so 1, 2 is what we're taking out. And that leaves us with 1, 2 more. So we have made this bond right here and made a 10. That made a 10. So this will be easier for us to add, and we can count on if that's easier for you. So 8 plus 4 is the same as saying 10 plus 2. 10, 11, 12. So 10 plus 2 equals 12, the same way that 8 plus 4 equals 12. And that's how our 10 frame is going to help us. So we're going to try another one, and we'll do it together. So for this problem, our number sentence will be 7. Oh, but I'm short a dot. So we'll have 7 pink dots to represent our first add-in of 7. So 7 plus 4. The yellow dots represent our second add-in, and we will go ahead and fill up our tens frame to make our bond. 1, 2, 3. So of my 4 yellow dots, I put 1, 2, 3 in my 10 frame, and I have 1 left over. So I have made my bond here. 7 plus 3 is 10, and that leaves me with 1 more. So that's just like saying 10 plus 1 equals, what does it equal? 11. Good job. The same way 7 plus 4 equals 11. So if you want to, you can draw this, or maybe have an adult or an older sibling help you draw a tens frame, and you can draw circles in there if the tens frame helps you figure out your problems. So you're going to do this on this lesson through 1 through 7, problems 1 through 7. The last problem asks you to explain how using 10 helps you add numbers. Do your very best thinking on that one. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate you listening, and I've enjoyed bonding with all of you.
This is MyIPS on MyINDY-TV 23. Here's what's coming up next.
Hi friends, thank you for joining me for Fluency today. My name is Mrs. Coleman, and I was a special education teacher in Binghamton, New York for 16 years. Before we start our practice, I'm going to need you to gather a few items. You're going to need 10 pennies and 1 dime. So hit pause in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen while you gather those items. And then when you're ready, come on back and hit the play button on that toolbar. I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, I'm glad you're back. We're going to start by counting my pennies. You can just watch on the screen first, and then in a moment, I'll give you a chance to practice on your own. We're going to count 1 penny at a time. Do you know how much 1 penny is worth? I hope you said 1 cent. So we're going to count my pennies by the units of 1 cent. We're going to start with 1 cent, 2 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents, 6 cents, 7 cents, 8 cents, 9 cents, 10 cents. So 10 pennies equals 10 cents. Okay, I'm going to pick my pennies up. I'm going to try that one more time. Are you ready to count with me? What's our unit again? 1 penny equals 1 cent. Here we go. 1 cent, 2 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents, 6 cents, 7 cents, 8 cents, 9 cents, 10 cents. 10 pennies equals 10 cents. Say that with me. 10 pennies equals 10 cents. We could also say 10 cents equals 1 dime, because 1 dime is equal to 10 cents. So 10 cents, say it with me, 10 cents equals 1 dime. 10 pennies equals 1 dime. And 1 dime equals 10 cents. I'm going to ask you now to go ahead when I'm ready. When we're ready, you're going to hit pause and you're going to practice this. Count out your 10 cents with your pennies and explain to a partner that 10 pennies equals 10 cents and that 10 cents equals 1 dime, because 1 dime equals 10 cents. You might use a partner to be a stuffed animal, could be a brother or sister, could be a grown-up. Maybe it's just an imaginary friend. But take a minute, hit pause on the toolbar, practice our counting and what we just practiced. 10 pennies equals 10 cents, which equals 1 dime. And when you're done, hit play, and I'll be right here waiting. Okay, I'm glad you came back. Now that we've practiced 10 pennies equals 10 cents, which equals 1 dime, I think this fits really well with today's lesson. You practiced making sticks of 10 and counting by tens and ones. We can use our dimes, which are equal to 10 pennies, so it's kind of like a stick of 10 cents, and count by tens. So count with me by units of 10 cents. We have 0 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents. What if I count backwards? We're at 50 cents. 10 less is 40 cents, 30 cents. Now we're going to go back up. 40 cents, 50 cents, 60 cents, 70 cents, 80 cents, 90 cents. Let's count back. 80 cents, 70 cents, 60 cents. Back up. 70 cents, 80 cents, 90 cents. What's 10 more than 90 cents? 100 cents, 110 cents, 120 cents. Okay, now let's count all of these tens together. We're going to start at the beginning, count all the way up to the end, and then count backwards. So we have 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents, 60 cents, 70 cents, 80 cents, 90 cents, 100 cents, 110 cents, 120 cents. Here we go backwards. 120 cents, 110 cents, 100 cents, 90 cents, 80 cents, 70 cents, 60 cents, 50 cents, 40 cents, 30 cents, 20 cents, 10 cents, 0 cents. Thank you very much for joining me for Fluency today. I hope that you'll let your teacher know that you did, and I really hope that you join me again tomorrow.
For as long as we've existed, Boys and Girls Clubs has always been about coming together to support the families of our communities and do whatever it takes to give every kid a chance at a great future. But we're going through a challenging time right now. And while we may not all be able to come together in the same physical ways, in other ways, we're coming together like never before. Because that's what whatever it takes to build great futures means. It means providing a safe place to go for children whose parents are on the front lines battling the virus. It means providing millions of meals for kids who previously relied on their school or a meal program, which are now shut down. And it's about harnessing the power of technology to keep kids moving forward with their education. So yeah, whatever it takes to build great futures may mean something different right now. But whatever it is, that's exactly what we're going to keep doing.
Because of you, I felt hopeless.
I know it was a joke, but it still hurt me.
Because of you, I felt wanted and not alone in this world.
Because you said hi to me on the first day of school, I felt included and I knew that I was going to be okay.
Once there was a boy who did the same thing again and again. One day, he was told he had autism. He got help and slowly learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.